Okay, pastor, if you happen to be a pastor listening or watching this podcast, by the way, if you're listening on your podcast app, would you do us a favor? Would you give us a rating, a review, just something like that? Or if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you for being there. Subscribe to us. Again, like us. We're trying to get the ministry out, and we're always grateful for our sponsors for doing so, but we wouldn't have sponsors on this podcast if it weren't for you, the listener or the viewer. So thank you for being here. But here's a question that pastors, I'll let you think about. Is it good for your other church staff to have their own constituency, meaning that they view that other staff as a pastor more than they view you as the pastor? That's the question that we're going to attempt to answer on this Rayner on Leadership. I am Tom Rayner. I'm joined by Sam Rayner, and that is where we will be going. But before we do, I want to thank our sponsor, California Baptist University. I could start singing a 60s song and say, I wish they all could be California Baptists, but I'm not going to do that. I will just simply say this. For those of you who are part of the Southern Baptist tribe, Southern Baptists, California Baptist is Southern Baptist, but it's much broader than that. But among Southern Baptists, only 20% have a bachelor's degree. Only 20% of Southern Baptist pastors have a bachelor's degree. That's what Pew Research study that's come out. And what is CBU doing for this? They're offering a full breadth of courses and opportunities through their online degree. So if you need to finish a degree, start a degree, they have this online degree where you can get so much good information, but you really can do it at your own pace. You can come in at any 8-week period, begin in and just do this according to your own schedule. Of course, it's digital, so it's at your own pace within certain parameters. Find out about this. Go to Cal Baptist at calbaptist.edu or click on the link in the show notes to find out about this particular opportunity for those of you who would like to finish your undergraduate degree or even start and finish it. All right, Sam, you have a nice size staff. You got a worship leader, you got a student leader, you got a children's leader, you got a senior adult leader. I could keep going down just the staff, not to mention other constituencies. I bet they have some people within their groups that consider those staff members to be more of a pastor than you. So that's what we're going to address this time.
Yeah, and that's by design. We expect that, and I would hope that people don't see me as the only pastor in the church. Frankly, that's a lot of work for me that I would rather not have to do because I don't have enough hours in the day to deal with everyone. So yeah, church members will inevitably attach themselves to certain leaders in the church, and it doesn't necessarily have to be staff. If you have elders and deacons, it could be an elder, it could be a deacon, and this attachment is good and bad. It's a bit of a mixed blessing. On the one hand, it's helpful because people have others to go to for needs, especially if they connect. Not everyone's going to connect with me. Not everyone's going to jive with my personality, and that's fine. They may connect better with somebody else in the church, and I think that's important. But these constituencies can become problematic when they're used to leverage influence in the church. So it's good when it's ministry, and it's good when this attachment means that, hey, there are church members that are being ministered to, and there's others who are equipped to help them. It's bad when, hey, I have a lot of influence, and I'm going to use that influence as leverage. And Dad, I've seen that many, many times. I've seen it in churches that I have served in, previous churches, where a staff person had leverage with the right people and used that leverage to get their way on a lot of stuff.
I did too, and anything I say is going to be ancient, so it's not going to be relevant today, but the principle is still the same. I had a student minister who was ticked that he did not get the budget allocation that he had requested, so he went around to pass it to the parents of the students and did fundraising for his ministry, and basically told them that they could do this in lieu of their regular giving to the church. And that was one of the negative experiences with a constituent.
I hope you fired him.
It took care of itself. Let me just say that. If I give the details, I'll start identifying the person. It took care of itself.
Yeah, that's just completely inappropriate. and certainly worthy of immediate termination. So if you're a staff person listening to this, don't do that. That's highly unethical, and wrong on so many spiritual levels as well.
But let me tell you,
Yeah,
let me give you a positive, Sam. You know Todd Brown, the founder CEO, or not founder, but CEO of Brown Church Development Group, our design
of
build partner.
course.
You know who
Yeah,
I'm talking about. You know, of course, you know them. Great folks. And one of the reasons that we partner with him is because they do such a good job with facilities and long term plans, but also a lot of short term master plans. But I'm getting off track. I was talking to him, and I was thinking to myself as I was talking to him, boy, I would love to have him as a pastor because he's just wise and he's an elder in the church. And then it just hit me. He's not a pastor. He's not even a staff person. But I bet in his church in Nebraska, he has a constituency that looks to him. And if the pastor is wise, they will look at Todd Brown and they'll say, that's good for the church. I know that's not quite apples and apples with a staff person, but it's the same principle. When you have someone the caliber of that, and they're doing ministry within the church, and that you're able to take some of the load off of you as lead pastor, that can be good as well.
yeah, absolutely. And Todd at Brown Church Development Group is one of the best. I love working with them and seeing them work with other churches, particularly in our network. So, what is a constituency? Let's just define this real quick. A constituency occurs when a group of people or a person view some member of the church staff as their pastor more so than the lead pastor. So this person may recognize lead pastor. Oh, I love your teaching. I love your sermons. But when it's like, well, who's your pastor? They would say somebody else other than the lead pastor. So there's more of a connection to the children's pastor. There's more of a connection to the campus pastor. There's more of a connection to the seniors pastor, whoever it is. It doesn't even have to be a pastor. It can be, someone who's at the director level or a minister level, depending on how you've got your church structured. So this is a constituency forms when there is a connection and there's a group of people that do this together. And Dad, I'll just say this. I think it's normal.
Oh yeah.
If you're a church that has multiple leaders, it's normal.
And let's clarify this. You may not have multiple full-time staff. You may be in a church that is smaller and you may have volunteer staff or you may have part-time staff. Same principle still applies. Why does it apply? Because they are spending more time with that person. They are getting to know that person. And not only are they getting to know that person in church settings, the likelihood is that begins to extend to social settings as well. That's good. That's connection within the church. And then its best form, it is only healthy for the church. And your second point that you bring up here, lead pastor can't do everything anyway. So staff constituencies, again, part-time, full-time, maybe even volunteer staff constituencies are inevitable as the church grows, or guess what? The church won't grow without these constituencies.
Yes. And I think of our life group leaders. None of our life group leaders are paid staff at West Bradenton. They're all volunteers, wonderful teachers. Some of them have 30, 40, 50 people in their class. And that class, and there's several of them, several life group leaders, where the class would view the life group leader as their pastor. And they may not use those terms, that's my pastor, because it may not be somebody who's quote unquote ordained. But their connection to them is in a shepherding role. And I don't have the least bit of problem with that. I am very grateful that a Jeff Spanos or a Jack May or a Dale Price take care of their classrooms. Now, they keep me in the loop. They say, hey, Sam, you need to know so-and-so is going through a tough time. Might want to reach out to them. And I get that kind of word, which is wonderful. So it enables me to make a connection too. But where these people feel like they are taken care of, it comes from our life group leaders. Your church may be structured differently. You may not have life groups like we do, but it could be a staff person. It could be just somebody who serves in a ministry area. If you're the lead pastor or a sole pastor, you can't do it all. So you're going to need good people who have these constituencies to take care of the church. So don't become jealous. That's what I would say.
Exactly. Be grateful, not jealous.
Yeah, be grateful, not jealous. This is a good thing that you don't have to tend to every single matter in the church. Nobody can carry that burden. Nobody should carry that burden. And this gets into some theological debate of plurality of leadership and what does that look like in the church. And hey, I'll just say this: I'm in favor of plurality, whatever that ends up looking like in your church. But it is necessary. It is necessary that you share leadership in the church somehow, some way, so that one person isn't doing it all. That's a very bad model for a church. And honestly, it will shrink your church. I mean,
Yes.
your church can only grow to a certain size if you are trying to do everything.
So a constituency is positive when these leaders, lay leaders, part time, full time staff, whatever the category is, when they're serving and loving the people of the church the way God designed. So they can truly have a shepherd role, which of course is the underlying meaning of the pastor. They can have the pastoral role, not in the leadership sense, but in the shepherding role, just better, really, most of the time than a lead pastor who can't get to them all.
Yeah, and I would say that most of these constituencies in most churches are probably healthy. I don't know the percentage. We've never done a study, but just knowing churches and seeing churches every day like we do at Church Answers, I would say that most of them they happen for normal, natural, and good reasons, and for the most part are positive in the way God designed for the church to work. Now, these constituencies become negative again when they are used as leverage for personal gain.
As
So,
the
Dan, what
example
do
I
you
just gave.
Yeah. So what do you do? What do you do if you're a lead pastor, executive pastor on the board of trustees, an elder, a deacon, and you notice that somebody is using the people of the church that are, a group of people that are connected to this person, but this person is clearly using them for some sort of personal preference or personal gain.
Well,
What should you do?
we have a final point in all of this that can bring it to close in a little while. We got some other things we want to talk about, but one of the things you should not do is you should not do that alone, because if you try to handle this without wisdom, without someone else walking alongside you, it could appear jealousy. It could appear petty. It could appear that the pastor is just out to get someone because that person is doing the things that I should be doing. The first thing you have to do is bring someone else in and look at the eyes through the eyes they have. You cannot go this alone. I know that's our final point, but that is the critical answer to the question you just asked me.
Yeah, I would agree. And we can rearrange the bullet points here if we need to. So it's all right. Our listeners won't know unless we tell them. So we'll just rearrange the bullet points. Yeah, you can't fight this alone. If you do, you're going to seem petty. You're going to seem defensive. People are going to be like, "What are you even talking about?" Like they won't get it because they love the person that you're talking about. That constituency is built for a reason. No one else is going to see it, except for maybe a handful of other people who are on the outside. And you're just putting people in an odd spot where you're making them pick this other person or you. So you have to be shrewd about how you handle this. You just can't, just charge in, say, hey, this person's, using you guys. You need to listen to me and we need to get rid of this person. Like it's just not going to be of benefit to you. And that's usually doesn't have a good ending to it. So it does take a level of shrewdness. It does take other people being involved. And there's probably a bit of time here so that people can see it.
Exactly.
And where you go is you go to the thing that they want. So if somebody's using their influence as leverage, they're using their influence as leverage for something. So you don't attack the person generally. You shrewdly deal with heading off at the pass what they want. And so you just go after that thing that they're trying to do, not them as a whole. And that usually calls them out and people begin to see things. But even then, you've got to be very, very careful because a constituency in the church can be used and can be very dangerous to particularly the lead pastor or the sole pastor, where you just get fired, and no one sees what you see because you have eyes
That
on everything in the church. No one sees what you see. So they just assume that you're just being a real difficult person, and they push you out.
So, Sam, that brings up a vital point in all of this. If it is a negative situation, if the person is doing things that are not biblically proper, doing things that hurt the church, here's what's going on. You as a pastor, and I'm talking to you pastors, you see it, but most of the congregation just sees a really nice person. Here's an example. This was not a staff member trying to take advantage of a constituency, though he kind of did at times. My guess was, according to what I observed, he probably worked 10 to 15 hours a week, though he was well compensated full time. And it just drove me crazy. It just absolutely drove me crazy. But if I said something about this staff member, oh, he's so beloved. He those hours that he uses them to go to the hospital. He uses them to call people, to build that constituency even more, because one of his responsibilities was pastoral care and hospital. And if I had just stood up and said, this guy is not working, I know this in the constituency, but he was still using it in a way to benefit himself, there would have been total rebellion. No, we love him more than we love you. And that was probably true.
Yeah, yes. They will rebel. If you attack the person, they're just going to rebel. So what you can do is make sure that you are more with this group, not less with this group, the ones that are being influenced, the constituency. It is time for you to invest more in them and to listen well to them. And what that will do is people will then build trust with you so that you will have the ability to deal with this in a little better way. Now, of course, let's just say this. If there's something like heresy or abuse or some major issue, like that there's a moral failing of this person, please just, you must deal with that. We're talking about people that are using their constituencies in a more subtle way, in a way that's not quite as, these aren't necessarily sin issues. They're issues of power struggles. And so if the person who's, doing wrong, it's a serious sin issue, then just call it out. You have to do that. The shrewdness and the political nature of this is more in those cases where it's not a clear-cut issue and it's difficult to prove. Like you could just say, well, look at that. They did X, Y, Z. You could literally lay out the evidence a lot of times with somebody who's doing this, literally lay it out. You could have documentation. You could show them emails. You could, pull up, the camera footage or whatever. And people are still going to go, well, I don't know what you're talking about. This person, they know that person. They're just going to say, it just looks like that person. I don't get why you have an issue with this pastor.
Yep.
So you do have to be very careful. And unless you ask, you don't know the motive. For all you know, the person who's, using a constituency for leverage, they may think their motive is pure. They may think they're doing the right thing, which makes it even more complicated because now you're dealing with a group that loves someone who thinks they're doing the right thing and everyone would agree they're doing the right thing. So you come in and you say, well, this is all wrong. No one's even going to believe you. So constituencies, I will say, Dad, mainly good in the church, typically very healthy, as God designed. But when they go sideways, they can go sideways pretty badly.
Oh, yeah. And as you've mentioned on a couple of occasions in this podcast, a number of pastors have lost their jobs because they decided to fight the constituency without getting all the other type of work and preparation and relationships developed that they should. So that is one of the greater nuggets of wisdom that you dropped, is get closer to the constituency. Two things will happen. They will appreciate you more. At this point, yeah, you may actually be competing for the favor just a little bit of the other person, but they will like you more. And secondly, you, the pastor, can see what's going on in that constituency a lot clearer the more time you spend with them as well.
And make sure that you check your own motives as well, because a lot of pastors that fight constituencies do so because of some level of jealousy or fear. And if you're coming at the problem from a place of jealousy or fear, you are the one who's actually in the wrong, even if the other person isn't doing exactly what they should be doing either. So your emotions can really get wrapped up into this, because it's very easy to take things personally, even when they are not meant to be personal. You kind of
Yes.
make it personal because these are people that I'm supposed to be shepherding. I'm the pastor. I'm the one that's supposed to be leading them, and somebody else is. And I can understand the tension there. But I would also just say, before you go down this road of fighting a constituency or fighting somebody who has a constituency, check your own motive. Are you being
Good
driven by
point.
fear or jealousy? And if so, you really might want to think about how you approach it.
Good point. Good organization. Upward.
Yeah. Let's thank our sponsor. We've kind of come to the end of our time today, and everyone, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in to Rainer on Leadership. I know many of you have been listening in for years, and you've been listening long before I was even on the show. So shout out to Jonathan Howe, good old friend. Hope he's doing well. God, rest in peace, Jonathan.
He's not
Actually,
dead.
he's not dead. He's doing just fine. We're grateful for Jonathan.
Don't get those rumors started.
Oh man, I know, I
Rest
know.
in
Boy, you
peace.
get rumor mill start flying. But we do appreciate you guys listening. We certainly appreciate our sponsors. We have some wonderful sponsors at Church Answers, and one of them is Upward Sports. And Upward Sports really, they're there for churches. They are genuine. They desire for kingdom growth through churches. They are an incredible partner. They're the world's largest Christian youth sports organization. So they are big enough to serve you, but they have team members who can drill down into your local church and customize solutions just for you. So whether you've got a gym, a field, a parking lot, whatever, they can create a sports program that will help you reach out into your community, to be a bridge to the people in your community. And they are being so generous. They are offering this $500 sports grant. And so I would encourage you to reach out to them. Go to upward.org/church answers. Again, upward.org/church answers. Schedule a call, and please tell them that we sent you. That will help us. But you can get $500 to get a league, going in your community. That is well worth it. So not only are they sponsoring the show, they're also offering this grant. Again, upward.org/church answers. Thanks you again
Thank you
for
too.
tuning in to today. To today's episode of Rainer on Leadership. Certainly want to thank California Baptist University, Upward Sports, Brown Church Development Group, all the people that help us put this content out. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Our YouTube channel continues to grow. So thank you for those who are actually watching us. I know most of you are tuning in via audio. We certainly appreciate that as well. Make sure you give us a rate and a review over at your podcasting app. And we've got a really good episode for next week. I look forward to talking about the impact of doctrine on church growth. So we will see you then.